Hey, what's going on, guys? DK. Back at you with another video here to bring the 7-game NBA main slate on Friday. Before I get into the video, if you guys are new to the channel, welcome. My name is DK. I make daily videos and live stream for NBA and NFL slates on Draftkings. If you're unable to watch these YouTube videos, they're also upload on Apple Podcasts with a link down below. It's called the DKDFS Show. If you're interested in signing up for premium content, I offer that on Patreon.com, an esports package, which includes Call of Duty and CSGO, as well as an NBA package. And I do want to thank Prize Picks for sponsoring this episode. If you guys are not familiar with Prize Picks, if you're the first time watching these videos, the idea is you take over/under on fantasy points. Prize Picks will post fantasy projections, and these will move throughout the day. So if you see one that you think is either too high or too low, you should jump on it then. And they have every single sport you can think of: MLB, PGA, esports, soccer, again, everything. So. And you can mix and match sports too, which I think is really really cool. And again, it's a nice change of pace from DraftKings because you're not playing against anyone, you're playing against the house. If you guys want to try it out, you can sign up. You just go DKDFS. DKDFS, all one word, link down below. You'll get a 100% match up to $100. You put $100 in, you get $200 to play with. And finally, I want to thank you guys again for the continued support. And apologize for not being able to live stream today, but I'll be back live streaming tomorrow. If you guys do enjoy this content, if you have a like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you know when I upload videos, you know when I go live. Again, we'll be doing the YouTube live stream tomorrow, and let's aim for 150 likes on this video. Again, closing in at a 9,000 subscriber mark. So also, if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It does help me out as well. All right, so before we talk about players and their prices for the 7-game slate, we can look back in the lineup here from Thursday. So Thursday, honestly, I wasn't following the games too closely. Did end up getting in the cash in the low dollar stuff. In the high dollar, literally missed by literally was one out from the money. So 2 points off the money. Painful, definitely painful. Plus the fact that 2 of my stars were low owned and in blowouts hurts, right? Because if that Charlotte-Chicago game just stays close and that New Orleans-Orlando game just stays close, it's going to be a pretty big night for myself. But yeah, I can get out of the way so you guys can see. Basically, just again, story of the blowouts, it seemed like on this slate. So my lineup, I went with Killian Hayes, Terry Rozier, Josh Jackson, Zion, Mo Bamba, Derek White, Keldon Johnson, Isaiah Stewart. And I told you guys, right, it was a Spurs back-to-back. I'm like, be careful here. We're going to get popped, and sure enough, got popped before the game, basically. So got DeJounte Murray and Patty Mills getting ruled out for rest. Then I'm like, okay, so I have a pretty clear idea of what I want to do with those 2 out. And then sure enough, DeMar DeRozan, close to lock, gets ruled out too. I'm just like, this is so typical Popovich. But yeah, so once that happened, I got onto Derek White and Keldon Johnson. I pivoted from, it was Kobe White and Sadiq Bey. I pivoted to Derek White and Keldon Johnson because I needed some Spurs exposure once DeRozan got rolled out too. I still stuck with 3 Pistons. Killian Hayes, solid. Josh Jackson was fantastic at only 35% ownership. And then Isaiah Stewart, a little bit disappointing. Not going to lie, I expected a little bit more, but he wasn't terrible. Went for 26.75 fantasy points. So basically, I had a stack of that game, and then again, my stars, low-owned Rozier, was not playing great. I won't lie, he wasn't having an amazing game. He plays the fourth quarter. He probably gets close to 40, and again, close to value. And then Zion Williamson was playing really good, but the Magic are just terrible, and they just got blown out. So, painful. Just because again, right on the money line with my 2 stars in blowouts. And then Mo Bamba. Once we got the news that Wendell Carter Jr. was out, I thought he was a clear value play. Only 65% owned. I was surprised it wasn't higher in this. But yeah, that is it for the look back, guys. Hope you had a good night, and let's talk about this 7-game slate on Friday. So real quick, we can take a look at the Vegas odds here. We have the Clippers and the Rockets. It's a 221.5 over under. The Clippers are 11.5 point favorites. Wizards and Thunder, a 230 over under. The Wizards are 9-point favorites. Cavs and Hornets, a 209 over-under. The Hornets are 1-point favorites. Nuggets, Warriors, a 228 over-under. The Nuggets are 3-point favorites. And Grizzlies, Blazers, late night hammer here, 233 over-under. Blazers are 3.5-point favorites. I think that one looks pretty good. All right, so let's start off with Miami and Atlanta. On the Miami side, it's a good matchup here. Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo at the top. I think are both decent options. Jimmy should play 35-plus minutes, has triple-double upside. Bam Adebayo, I think if Clint Capella is out, he should be able to feast against that Atlanta front court. So the top two guys for Miami, I think both look pretty solid with Jimmy and Bam. And I don't know if I get to anyone else on this team with those two in. Where's Kendrick Nunn? Kendrick Nunn's at 5-1. He still did play 34 minutes that last game for the Heat, but I don't know if I can confidently get to anyone else on this roster when Jimmy and Bam are both healthy. Now, on the Atlanta side, what we know is Trae Young is out. Clint Capella questionable. Please play. Please. Basically, my best ball comes down to if Clint Capella plays, I have a really good shot of moving on to the finals. If Clint Capella misses this game, I'm in trouble. So, gonna be a Friday sweat of the injury report for me. Please play Capella. If Capella does play, I think he's a good tournament play. He has been unbelievable recently. Just double-double machine, blocking shots, getting some steals. It's not the best matchup, but hey, if he plays, I'm fine going there for tournaments. Now, with Trae Young being out, Bogdan Bogdanovic should be the number one on offense. He should play huge minutes. The issue is just the price. He's like $8K, $7.8K. It's not like we're getting him at a discount. So I don't think he's like a plug and play here, but I think he's still viable for GPPs. Now, John Collins at 6'8", they've kind of been taking it easy on his minutes since he returned from injury 3 games ago. If Clint Capella is out, that is a bigger boost to Collins, but still, would we get 30-plus minutes from him? I'm not convinced on it based on what we've seen recently with his minutes. Let's see. Gallinari is currently questionable. That's one more piece we're waiting on. Kevin Huerter at 5'8", he'll play the big minutes, but normally doesn't really have the upside. Again, he had that 146 fantasy point game, but other than that, he usually hovers in the mid-20s for fantasy points. The guy that I think would stand out, assuming he starts with no Trae Young, is Brandon Goodwin. 3.4K is just too cheap. Again, we've seen in a couple games that Trae Young missed earlier, he played 37 minutes. Since then, obviously, he's coming off the bench and hasn't played a ton, but if he starts here, I think he's probably one of the best values in the slate for sure. And then you can even take a shot at Lou Williams for, GPPs. Minutes, I think probably 25-ish. Again, if no Trae Young, there is a lot of usage to go around. So, and then if Capella doesn't play, they have a couple of different options they can go to. They can start a Congo and then Collins to the 4. Or maybe if Gallinari plays, they can move Collins to the 5 and Gallinari to the 4, and then Collins becomes more appealing. So right now, again, it's a little bit hard to say because we're still waiting on a couple of pieces there for Atlanta. And moving on to Boston. So good matchup here. Jaylen Brown, we don't know his status. He did not play the game today. Robert Williams, Evan Fournier, don't expect either of them to play either, but I think there's a slight chance that they could be available. So that's another, again, piece of news we'll have to wait on. Jason Tatum at the top at 10K. Has last couple games has shot 3 of 17 and 3 of 17, so not great. Has still put up some pretty big games though, or not big games. So I say decent fantasy scores for shooting that bad, right? 48 and 40 fantasy points for shooting 3 of 17 in both those games. Imagine if he has a better shooting game. So if there's no Jaylen Brown, if Fournier is still out too, I think Tatum is someone you could get to at the top. So I don't think he continues to shoot that bad. Now Kemba Walker, it's a back-to-back. I don't even know if we've seen a Kemba play in a back-to-back this year. So I think there's a chance he might rest this one. If he does rest, then a guy like Marcus Smart becomes a pretty good play at 6.9K. He'll probably man more of the point guard duties than maybe a guy like Peyton Pritchard at 3.7 if he starts. Tristan Thompson at 4.9 should play, over 30 minutes. Again, safer value play. And then I saw Jabari Parker. How many minutes did he finish? Still only 15. He's a good offensive player, but probably not someone I can get to unless like he randomly picks up a start. So that's where we're at for Boston. Let's move on to Brooklyn. Kevin Durant currently questionable. If Kevin Durant misses, the fine going right back to Kyrie Irving. Not necessarily the best matchup, but revenge game narrative. He had a monster game last game. If Kevin Durant plays, then I'm probably just going to stay away from the Brooklyn team. And even if Kevin Durant misses, I don't know if I get to the secondary pieces for Brooklyn. It will depend on what they do with the starting lineup. Who starts the five, whether it be Blake or DeAndre Jordan. Guys like Shamet, Green, Bruce Brown are playable, but really would want to see what they do with the starting lineup here. And again, obviously got to keep an eye on Kevin Durant news is huge. Cleveland and Charlotte. So the Cleveland Cavaliers, when fully healthy, are just a team I don't have a ton of interest in. The two guards, Sexton and Garland, are both playable in a good matchup. Jarrett Allen, Kevin Love, secondary options for me. I think my favorite point per dollar play is probably Garland on Cleveland. He's been pretty consistent. He has. If you just look at his box scores, the last 10 games, he's gotten at least 35 fantasy points in each of those games, and he's below 7K, and it's a good matchup. So Garland is probably the guy I get to first if I'm going to pick someone at Cleveland. I know Sexton has had back-to-back 40-plus fantasy point games. Pumping the brakes a little bit here, though. I think, again, I would rather get to Garland over Sexton. On the Charlotte side, so Terry Rozier definitely in play for tournaments. He had a bad shooting game, and they got blown out today. But previous games, he's been playing about 40 minutes, and has had some good upside. So definitely have some interest there in Rozier for GPPs. PJ Washington, what happened? Again, I was not following these games. 13 minutes? Excuse me? Did he get in? I don't think he got injured. 13 minutes for PJ Washington after playing 34 and 35 the previous two games. Alrighty then. That makes 0 sense. So obviously can't get to PJ with confidence based on what we saw tonight. And then I don't even know if I can get to anyone else on this Charlotte Hornets team. So let's move on to the Clippers and the Houston Rockets. On the Clippers side, Paul George, I think this is one of the best bet-ups of the slate. Great matchup. As long as this game stays close, should play 35-plus minutes. So really, really do like Paul George. The rest of the Clippers kind of priced up from when Paul George was out and Kawhi was out. I don't know if I get to anyone else like Marcus Morris, Reggie Jackson, both fine plays. No priority plays, though. On the Houston side, I think John Wall is the guy I look to. Like him for tournaments. I know it's not the best matchup. He was on pace for a pretty good game there against the Jazz, and it blew out. So John Wall is probably the guy I get to. 7.5, again, he does have upside and is a pretty high usage guy. Again, no Kevin Porter Jr. in this offense too. So I actually do like John Wall a good amount for tournaments. Would Olynyk fine as well, but Wall would probably be the first guy I get to if I'm going to play someone in Houston. House is back, so it kind of takes the secondary guys out of play for me for Houston. Washington and OKC. So on the Wizards side, Westbrook, again, I think he's just a safe spend up every single slate. Going to play close to 40 minutes. It's the triple-double upside. It's a great matchup. Revenge game narrative, too. So, yeah, Russell Westbrook looks really good. Brad Beal is playable, more of a GBP play at his price. As far as value goes for Washington, so obviously, again, sadly, Denny's out for the season. Davis Bertans a guy I do not like playing, but I think we probably get around 30 minutes from him. Again, he's scoring independent, so that is the risk, but playable for value. And then Daniel Gafford did play 24 minutes the last game against Golden State. We finally saw a boost in his minutes. He's a really good point per minute guy, and you saw it happen when he played over 20 minutes, went for 38 fantasy points. So I actually do kind of like Daniel Gafford here. Do I trust he's going to play 24 minutes again? No. But the upside is there, and he's kind of like a Boucher, right? If the minutes do end up being there, then he could crush. And the last one I mentioned is Raul Neto. He started the last couple of games. He played 36 minutes the last game. Not a super high usage guy, but if he starts again at this price point, yeah, I have interest. So it pains me to say, but there are some secondary plays for Washington I do kind of like. On the Oklahoma City side, depends on Lou Dort. If Lou Dort plays, viable for tournaments, because in the games he's played, he's been phenomenal. So, yeah, if Lou Dort plays, you can go there for tournaments. If Lou Dort misses, then we can get to a combination of Baisley, Pokusevski, Maladon, Kenneth Williams, Roby, all become pretty solid plays. Roby in his first game, he missed one game, right? And he played 28 minutes. 4.3K does seem a little bit too cheap for him. there's some interesting plays here for the Thunder. Is there one standout? No, but like I think that the group I mentioned with like Roby, Williams, Maladon, Pokusevski, Baisley all look pretty solid, and probably at least one or two of those guys get there. All right, 2 games left. So Denver and Golden State, really good matchup here. Jokic at the top, I think like one of the better spin-ups of the slate. Should be able to feast against his Golden State front court. Secondary plays for Denver, not much here. Again, Rivers is in the rotation, so that kind of hurts Campazzo and Dozier. If they had to pick one of the guards, it would be Dozier just because he's the cheapest of the bunch. Also has small forward eligibility. Moving on to Golden State. So Steph Curry, after he was the absolute chalk last slate, again, finally came back down to earth. Shot 7 of 25 and went for 38 fantasy points. Now, this is going to lower the ownership, right? He burned a ton of people. This is where I'm fine hopping back on Steph Curry at low ownership, right? Because he's a guy that the floor is still there, but the ceiling is really high when he's getting it going. So I do like Steph for tournaments, and I think the ownership will be a lot lower on this slate. Draymond Green is at 6.9K. I just don't know what to make of him. I don't. I've talked about it a lot recently. I don't understand. He goes on stretches where he crushes, and then he'll go on stretches where he is not great. And he's a guy that can do it all. Man, I don't know what to make of Draymond Green. I think he's still in play, but yeah, just puzzling right now. Wiggins, Oubre, probably not going to get to either of them. Now, Bazemore started, and he played 35 minutes last game. He went for 50-plus fantasy points. Now, Damien Lee was 2 games ago. The reason Bazemore got limited was Damien Lee played 32 minutes. So if Bazemore starts again, I have some interest in him for value. I don't know what the mints are going to be like. I don't think we get 35 again from him. So keep an eye on that Golden State starting lineup, possibly some value there. And then Kavan Looney at 3.9K, just because Denver is a big front court. Obviously with Jokic, and it's like Golden State, they really don't have anyone else they can throw on them. So Looney, I think, will probably have to play around 30 minutes. I think he's in play for value. Final game, Memphis and Portland. This one looks pretty appealing. Ja Morant, one of my favorite plays of the slate. Really, really like him with no JV, just because it's a massive usage bump. I think Ja is, again, really, really good play in the slate. Triple J, not going to go to him in that price. Tillman, if he starts again, is playable. Should get, around 25 minutes at 4.6K. He's a decent point per minute guy. I'm not sure if I get to anyone else on the Memphis side. Finally, Portland. So Lillard, McCollum, the top, both fine options. If I had to pick one, it would be Lillard. I think he has a little more upside than CJ. Again, good matchup here. Powell, just a guy I don't really like playing. Cantor, kind of out of play for me. Nurkic intrigues me here. And the reason I say that is he played 29 minutes that last game against Denver. If we're going to get close to 30 minutes from Yusuf Nurkic against this Memphis front court at 5'2", he is too cheap. So I actually do have a good amount of interest in Yusuf Nurkic. I think he's underpriced if he's going to play close to 30 minutes. All right, guys, that's going to do it for the video today. So if you have been enjoying the content so far, I would really appreciate if you leave a like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't upload videos you don't live. Again, we'll be doing a YouTube live stream tomorrow. Thanks again. Have a good night, guys, and I'll see you all tomorrow in the live stream.